Well, hello everybody and welcome to Lunch Break Live. Real talk about obesity, food obsession, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Carrie De La Cruz, and on today's program, food addiction, abstinence, and sobriety, are those restrictive or protective? Well, before I give you my perspective, you should probably know who I am, especially if you're a new or first-time viewer, shall we say. I am a 2007 gastric bypass post-op, living life in recovery from obesity and addictive compulsive food addiction as twice the woman in half the body. I am also a recovery strategist, and that means, you know what, I've been saying this long enough now. I want to know what you guys think it means. My regular viewers, what is a recovery strategist? What is it I exactly do? Anybody want to take a stab at it while I welcome you all in and join you and see who's here? Let me know. What is a recovery strategist? Let's see here. Hi, Michelle and Melissa and Joshua. I haven't seen you in a few days, Joshua. And Jerry, welcome back. And Violet, you were here earlier in the show, the top of the show. Yay, you. And Mary Kay, welcome. Mama, all those people beat you in. How did that happen? All right. Okay. So that's all right. I knew who you meant. Because my mama is here too. Violet, she's here. All right. Hi, Georgette, one of my newer viewers. I'm so glad you're here, you beautiful thing, you. I wasn't kidding when I said you just have the friendliest face, and I'm sure I'd want to be your friend. I love that. All right. So nobody wants to take a stab at what a recovery strategist is? Oh, well, I guess I have more work to do. A recovery strategist, which, you know, I help you guys create a strategy, which is, you know what? Oh, here we go. Melissa, recovery strategist, develop ways to approach a solution to a problem. Ooh, I like that. That's really, really good. Pinar, hi, welcome. And Tracy Lynn, howdy, howdy. You're right. Namely, the problem being, you know how they say the shortest distance, a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. Well, I like to think that recovery strategy is the shortest distance between obesity and addiction and recovery. So that's what I do. I kind of cut through the crap, right? So we can find the clearest, cutting through the bush, like with a machete, hacking our way through the jungle. Let's get there, all right, instead of going around. So anyway, really glad you guys are here. Welcome in. I'm really glad that you guys got to join me yesterday for what appears to have been a pretty popular show. I'm hoping that you guys have a good takeaway from it and are finding strategies that you can apply, especially when you're talking about how you think about things. Maybe you saw yourself in some of the examples yesterday and you've learned how to apply those to achieve what you say you want, which is recovery. So that's why we love you, crap cutter. I'm a crap cutter. Thanks, Melissa. I love that. That's so funny. Hey, Carrie, welcome in. Another Carrie. More carriers, the betterer. More carries, the merrier. Yeah, carriers, merrier. Can't get it straight. Anyway, and we all spell it different so we know who we are. All right, here's the dealio. First of all, did you guys download the image that I put on my wall? The image that looks like this, all right? Do you see that? There we go. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you guys see this? Did you print that out? Because it would be helpful if you had it in front of you while I go over it on the show, but if not, it's okay. All right. So, yes, you shared it with the group. Great. Perfect. All right. That's really, really awesome. It's good. It's good. I didn't invent it. My name's not Maslow, but I am going to be referring to it today because I think it really does pertain to our recovery. Recovery is all about getting our needs met. It really is, Hey, Jessica, welcome in. So, also, as I progress in the program, I'm going to jump ahead, but if you're a new viewer, even if you're watching on demand, let me know. Let me know that you're a first-time viewer. Let me know you're here and how you found the program. I'm always grateful to hear that because I want to, appropriately, properly thank people that are sharing the show because that takes courage. All right, so let me do a little setup here for today's program where I'm asking, when you hear the words abstinent and sober and things like that, do you hear restriction or do you hear protection? What comes to mind first? So When I was in college, not surprisingly, I know you guys are not going to find this hard to believe. Yes, I did enjoy drama class, but my very, very favorite classes were logic, psychology, and ethics. And the great news is when I went for my upper degree, I got to take even more psychology classes. Okay, I did not choose to finish my master's degree, sadly, but it wasn't in psychology anyway. It was in education, computer-based learning, but that's a long story. Anyway, I loved those particular classes, logic, psychology, and ethics, because they lent meaning, purpose, and structure to my otherwise meaningless, purposeless, unstructured life. Now, I am saying that not because my life really was those things, but I believed it about myself, okay? I believed that my life was meaningless and purposeless and unstructured, okay? So, and that's what kept me going back to learn more, okay? So those classes really went a long way towards helping build a foundation for recovery. Now, ultimately, learning about something is part of the solution, but as strategy dictates, applying it is what gets her done, okay? That's what gets the job done. So applying what I learned in those classes has helped me immeasurably in my recovery journey. If for no other reason that the subjects that I'm discussing there actually limited the power that emotion played. It was a leading role, by the way. Emotion played a leading role in my personal addiction and obesity movie. Okay, I was very, very ruled by emotion. I'm a very emotional person. So in looking at these classes, I was able to find facts and logic and information that I could rely on that was not open to interpretation all the time. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it is, but it wasn't subject to emotional, you know, hither and yon, to and fro, stuff like that. Okay, so what I mean is I found a lot of answers to questions I didn't even know I had or didn't believe I could answer. And we've talked a lot about that. Like last week, I talked about that, right? So I didn't think I could ever answer the questions I had or if I even knew I had them, okay? So just taking the classes, again, that did not change my life. I had to apply what I learned. And then I had to build upon that, okay? And that happened through things like therapy and, yes, bariatric surgery and experience. So all of those things combined have created a foundation. I think they've shaped the way I think and feel and behave toward my diseases of obesity and food obsession, all right? I really do believe that. If you've ever studied psychology, you have undoubtedly learned theories. It's all about theories. That's what you learn in psychology, okay? About why we do what we do, why people do what people do. It is fascinating, okay? And everyone has different theories, and they've evolved over time. And, you know, traditionally theorists will build upon other theorists' theories, and, you know, they'll develop them and say, okay, yeah, that was good, but this is better. And that's what they try to do, all right? Now, some of the more notable theorists, and you guys have probably heard these, you know, thrown around and never even realized what it was all about. Jung, right? You've heard Jung and Freud and Bandura, maybe, maybe not, Piaget, Erikson, Pavlov, and his dogs, right? Rogers, Skinner, and, of course, Abraham Maslow. And that's what this hierarchy of needs, this pyramid, this graphic that I showed and asked you guys to download, that's by him. Okay, now you're going to remember him as this guy that developed the hierarchy of needs pyramid, where the most fundamental, but not developmental. So their fundamental necessities are at the bottom, and then the developmental necessities are at the top. So theoretically, and I put that wildly in quotation marks, theoretically, the higher up you are, the less needy you are, or should I say the fewer unmet needs you have. Okay, now, before I continue, I need to remind you, this is not a psychology class. I'm not a psychology expert. Okay, I do not purport to be an expert on Maslow. What I see in his hierarchy of needs, that chart, is a lot of things that pertain to recovery and how those things that when they were unmet in my own life would impede my way to healthy recovery. Okay, and that's why I wanted to bring them up here, all right? Because to me, this is a recovery class, right? Wouldn't you guys agree? This is a recovery class, and I'm going to introduce you to stuff that I guarantee you've been overfeeding because they were eating you up, and you just didn't even know it. That's what we talk about absolutely every day. So This is the stuff that negatively affects your ability to manage your disease of obesity and or food addiction. That's really the bottom line. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm not teaching a psychology class here. All right. I am going to talk about these needs and how when they're unmet, they impede our ability to live in recovery. Okay. So if you're familiar with this image, which I'll hold up again, okay, right here, you see this? Okay. It is divided into 5 parts. At the bottom of the pyramid, you've got fundamental physiological, so physical needs. And that would include things like breathing. We need to breathe. Food, water, sex, sleep, and homeostasis or balance. All things kind of generally working together in a healthy balance, right? People will say, you don't need sex. Sex shouldn't be on there as a physiological, physical need. Well, it is. So don't argue with me about it. My last name is not Maslow, as I said. So it's there. So here's my question for you. Knowing that's at the very bottom of the pyramid as a physiological need. In other words, you don't argue with this stuff. You need air. You need food. You need water. You need balance to live, okay? So knowing that, do you feel that you have balance in your life? Do you feel that your food needs are met in a healthy way? Is your body in good health? Do you get enough sleep? Okay, so that's something to consider. So if you answered no to any of those, then it would follow that some of your physical needs aren't being met. And these are like, you don't argue with them. They're not open to, what is the word I'm looking for? Debate. They're not up for debate, okay? You don't get to decide how much air you need. You need air, all right? So don't argue with it. So the next level above the very fundamental physiological needs is safety. That's what got this all started for me this morning, because I realized when we don't feel safe, that stops us dead in our tracks. We feel fearful. If you don't feel safe setting foot outside your house physically, like something could happen to you, well, then chances are you're not really going to be comfortable stepping out of your house, are you? Driving a car, if you're not comfortable driving, especially not people come to California, they're like, oh, no, I do not feel safe driving on the freeways, okay? I get it. So that safety is above the fundamental stuff like, breathing, okay, and sleeping and eating, okay? So that includes security of body. Are you safe in your body? Is your body safe? Employment. Are you gainfully employed? Do you have an income? Or are you unemployed and can't find a job? Resources. Do you have resources at your fingertips? And those resources would be absolutely anything, like even a car to get to a job, to get around, right? Blankets for the bed, pillows, resources that make you feel safe. Family, health, your health. Do you feel secure in your health? Property and morality. So how confident are you? How safe do you feel about your morality? Do you feel like you know what you believe and you believe what you know? If you're constantly in a state of, I don't know what I believe and I don't know if I know, well, then that is going to affect, it's going to undermine a need you have for security, to be secure in what you believe. Okay? So that's affecting. This stuff eats us up, you guys, and we're not even aware of it. How many of you guys were aware that this stuff might be stuff that could be informing your decision to overeat or use alcohol or distractions so that you don't have to think about these unmet needs? You're getting them met, but in an unhealthy way. Do you feel safe in all those areas? Right? Next up is love and belonging. Now we're talking about the human condition here. The need for relation, interrelation, right? To interact with one another, okay? So we have a need for friendship, family, and sexual intimacy, right? That's very important. So that's more than just the act of sex. That's the intimacy. This is the emotional belonging. This is the part where we feel loved, okay? These are important, and perhaps they're not being met, okay? And I guarantee you those will be eating you up. All right, next up, esteem. So where we are, in case you're following along, we are right here at this level, okay? So we've gone through these other levels here, and we are now up to here, second from the top, all right? And that level is called esteem, not self-esteem, but just esteem. Self-esteem is one of the needs that falls under esteem, but guess what else is there? confidence, achievement, and respect of and by others. So you respect others and you are respected, okay? What if you don't feel respected? Okay? What if you don't feel accomplished, that you can achieve things? You know, that you can effectively do things? What if you have no confidence and insecurity is crippling you? You got to get these needs met. They're not open to interpretation. Again, they have to be met somehow. They're higher needs, but they matter. They go into who we are as people. So if you can't get them met in healthy ways, your insecurity is eating you up, you're just going to shovel food in, or you're going to drink, you're going to turn to some other diversion, substance, avoidance technique because it's too painful. It's not being met in another way. So you'll get it met one way or another. You know, unhealthy relationships, right? Some of those, you know, that need to be loved and belong. Oh, we'll get that met in unhealthy ways by hanging out in abusive relationships because we feel like we can't do any better. We'll hang out with people that are abusive and destructive and don't have our best interests at heart and hurt us. That's what we'll do because we have a need that needs to be met. Even if it's not being met in a healthy way, we're going to get it met, and then it's going to eat us up and we're going to overeat. So are you guys following this? Does this make a little bit of sense here? A lot of us do struggle with this level, this esteem level. It's a biggie. People say, I have no self-esteem. I have no confidence in myself. Right? That's why I need to lose weight. I don't have confidence because I'm obese, stuff like that. You hear that, right? And then we call ourselves needy. We are very needy. Well, I mean, I just think we need things, right? But if they're not being met, then, well, we are needy. And like I said, we'll get them met in unhealthy ways. So the final level, the very, very top of that pyramid, is something that you've probably heard used, you know, bandied about, thrown around, and not understood. It is self-actualization. You finally, you know, like I like to say, I'm on to me. Okay, self-actualization. Oh, okay, I understand the ways in which I've been lying to myself. I'm on to me. I'm aware of the little lies, the big lies that I've, denial, right? How I fed my obesity. Got it. Understood. Self-actualization. So on this level, you're going to find the need for morality again, but this time, you're digging in. You're standing tall. You're actually standing up for and sharing what you believe. Before, you had an internal morality, right? Right, wrong. But now you'll actually stand up and you'll actually share it and speak it and stand up for the needs of others as well, okay? So we've got that. You've got creativity, right? A lot of people say, oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body. What does creativity look like? You've seen Pinterest. You know, there's about 1 million different ways. If I were to rely upon Pinterest, though, to define whether or not I was creative, I've had such epic failures on Pinterest. I would think I wasn't creative. Fortunately, there are other ways that aren't on Pinterest that I can prove that I am creative. Spontaneity, right? If we're afraid that we're not safe and we don't want to set foot out of the house, then why would we be spontaneous? If we are afraid that people don't love us and don't respect us, we aren't liked, we aren't safe, our needs aren't being met, we're not going to be spontaneous. No way. Everything is going to be planned to the last breath, right? Okay, problem solving. Oh, that's really neat. I love that one. If above esteem, right? Because with esteem, now you have this belief in the self-efficacy that says, I can do things. Here's where you put it to work. Problem solving. You solve the problems of life. Maybe it's the problem of, I don't stop eating once I start eating zingers. Problem solving tells me that I have been using zingers to feed unmet needs, but now that those needs are being met in healthier ways, I do not need to use zingers to deal with the stuff like control issues or insecurity, okay, or depression or sadness or grief, okay? Now I know that I have the tools in my toolbox that I could reach for, grab onto, and use to live a life of recovery. Problem solving. I love this one too. Lack of prejudice. That looks a lot like prejudice we have against ourselves. And it's not very kind, that prejudice that we have, okay? We're very cruel to ourselves, okay? But we're also prejudiced in such a way that, you know, when we have a lack of this, a lack of prejudice, meaning, how do I describe this the right way? That means that we don't allow lies to just stand. We don't allow ourselves to get, hide things with denial. We don't have prejudice anymore that says, well, I deserve certain things, or it's not my fault. Okay, we're more responsible, we're more accountable. We don't have a prejudice that says it's not fair and I should be like everybody else. No, that's not there anymore. So we don't have to be prejudiced towards our own unhealth, I guess. And acceptance of facts. Bingo, that one hit it out of the park for me. Acceptance of facts. Big time. Isn't that what I talk about all the time? What is owning your crap if it isn't acceptance of facts? And that, my friends, is located at the very top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all right? So I guess I would call this level ultimately the level of recovery. I really would, all of the things that are in there, because the needs are met by living life on life's terms. See? Does that follow? Does that make sense? This is not a psychology class. Again, okay, not a psychology class. Because I'm not a psychologist, or I'm not any kind of idgist. I'm not an idgist of any sort. Oh, I'm a strategist. But there are no letters for that. Anyway, I'm a person, really, with needs that ate me up for years, so I overfed them. That's who I am. And not being an expert then on this psychology stuff, I can only say that many of us feed many of the needs in the upper levels while the needs on the bottom level starve. Think about that. We don't feel secure. We're starving because we're not finding ways to feel secure. We're not finding ways to be secure in our bodies and be healthy. We're avoiding it and we're starving because we need it. It's like starving ourselves of oxygen and healthy food. Okay, we're starving those things on the lower levels, but they're still there and they're still needs. They're fundamental needs. Can't argue with them. All right, so I said that's where I want to begin today. That's where I want to finish today. Oh my goodness, I have too many pages. What on earth? I have too many pages. I have too many pages. Gosh, shoot, I gotta hurry. All right, I'm gonna try and hurry. All right, that means I don't get to talk to you guys very much. How did that happen? All right, never mind. It doesn't matter. The why doesn't matter. I tell you that all the time. Go. If the needs on the bottom levels are not met, do we feel secure enough to choose abstinence, sobriety, and recovery? Did you follow that? Okay. So if we're not getting our needs met, do we feel secure enough to choose abstinence, sobriety, and recovery? If we don't feel that our food needs, which are on the physical level of the pyramid, are met, do we feel unsafe and fearful? Likewise, if we are unemployed, underemployed, we struggle with our health and our body, we have an unsupportive family, maybe. How does that impact our ability to freely work our recovery? I think there's a direct connection. So what I'm saying is, if we are constantly worried that our needs are not being met, do we have the energy to focus on something like food abstinence or alcohol sobriety? Wow. Can we focus on that when that is what we use to try and feed those unmet needs? Do you see what I'm saying? We can't focus on those things in a healthy way because we are using those things in an unhealthy way to meet very real needs. Well, that was kind of deep to be that far in the talk, don't you think? All right, here's what I think. I think abstinence, sobriety, and recovery are scary concepts to a lot of people. They freak out and they hear restriction because they believe that their needs cannot possibly be met if they are restricted from using the very things they misuse to try and meet them now. Okay, logic. There was some logic in there, right? So in other words, if I am worried about food, how does that impact my ability to meet my body and health needs? If I'm constantly worried about food. If I feel imprisoned by unmet needs, how will instituting further rules enable those needs to be met? In other words, I already feel regulated to death by all the things I can't do. Why do you want me to put more rules in place that tell me what else I can't do? That's our mentality. And that's where perspective comes in. That's what this show is all about, hopefully, is to put a little perspective on this, all right? So let's say you have a problem with over-consuming certain foods. So like you're carb crazy, or you obsess over snack foods or baked goods like all the time. That was me. Obsession, 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 right? The need for sleep and homeostasis are affected Okay, remember those were on the bottom, that balance, because your food needs aren't being met. See, so the ability, how many of us lay awake at night or can't sleep, or we don't have a healthy sleeping pattern because we feel sick, or we're panicked, and we're afraid, and we're just thinking about all the stuff we ate today that we shouldn't have, right? There's no balance in our life. Our sleep is affected, and you know what happens when you lose sleep, right? You do not act rationally and make the best decisions. And think about this. If you create a food abstinence list and include items that you don't stop eating once you start, does that lead to making you feel liberated or restricted? Well, I contend that the rules, specific detailed parameters, okay, they don't limit us, they free us. And you want to know how? Of course you do. Okay, if I know there are rules in place that say, for example, it's illegal to murder, okay, I know I picked a hard one, okay, then I feel safe because I realize that unless someone breaks the law, okay, I don't need to fear being murdered. I realize that's very simplistic, okay, I get it, but that's essentially, if there are rules in place, that's supposed to protect me and make me feel safer. For if murder were not illegal, I'm sure I'd feel less safe because anybody could just murder me. You see? All right, extreme, but work with me. All right, if I know that I don't have an off switch around certain foods, and I don't have rules that say that those things that I don't say no to are off limits, then I am fearful and unprotected, right? Those donuts could come get me at any time because I don't have an off switch. And once I start, panic, 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 I don't feel safe. But if I have a set of healthy boundaries regarding that food, I feel safe. They can't come get me because I'm not going to go get them. That's my rule. I am protected. I am safe. I have taken care of my need to feel safe in my body, and I have taken care of that very fundamental need for healthy food, which means I won't think I need donuts. Not that those would meet that anyway. So, have you guys ever gotten up in the middle of the night and you go to the bathroom and you wander into the bathroom without turning on the lights because you could still see pretty well. So you get up and you move around your room and you could see well enough to get to the bathroom, right? Okay. But when you try to go back to bed after you turned the light on in the bathroom, I mean, you don't always do that, but let's say that you did. What happens? All of a sudden you're blind and you can't see, and you're like putting your hands out in front of you, touching the walls, feeling out there for doors and things that you might run into with your shin. Yeah. And you walk in a funny shuffling, kind of bent over, slow way. You're impeded, okay? You're not free to walk because you can't see. Right? You've been blinded by that sudden light. You're not confident at all. All right? So, if you see where you're going, then you're limited by what you can see, but you have more latitude than when you can't see where you're going. Did that make sense? If I can see where I'm going, I will know where the limitations, the boundaries are. I'll know the walls. I'll know the doors. I'll know the furniture that's going to jump out and hit me in the leg. I'll know they're there. However, if I can't see it all, then my world is even more restricted. It's even smaller. And I'm actually more likely to run into something because I can't see. All right, so you're on top of a building and there are no railings to keep you from falling off. You tend to stay farther back than you would if there were railings, right? You hang back much further because if there was a railing there, you could lean on it and know that you are safe and secure, and you're not going to just fall beyond it because there's a boundary there. Okay, I get it. What if you're afraid of like heights or the dark? Well, and you're probably going to be even more careful and less safe. See? All right, so we need those boundaries for safety, not to limit us. We don't want to fall off the cliff. That's what it's limiting us from doing, falling off the building, running into things that will hurt us. And if you call that limitation or restriction, well, I just think it's a good restriction because it's going to help you to meet a healthy need, which is a need for shins that don't hurt, and being alive. So, okay, we're right there, you guys. We're right there. I'm wrapping it up. I promise. I promise. Not going long. Recovery gives me security because there are boundaries and rules for dealing with life on life's terms. These rules do not apply to other people, by the way, even though we like to think they do and they should and ought to. And yesterday, unfortunately, I think a lot of people got the message that I was saying everybody should put their shopping carts away, and everybody pig-piled on that and talked about all the things that other people don't do. But the real point of the message was What is my attitude, my thought process, my behavior? How do I contribute to my own obesity by having unhealthy attitudes that affect my behaviors? Do you see? So I was not using that as a bully pulpit to beat up on people that don't put shopping carts away. I was working on ways that you could look at your own behavior and how it is that it applies to your own recovery or keeping you from living your recovery. Okay, so the boundaries and rules for dealing with life on life's terms, okay, recovery is like a handrail and the ability to see in the dark all at once, right? I know how much latitude I have, so I don't have to be afraid or fearful that I will go over the cliff or stub my toe or hit my shin. And that is not to say that I have not stubbed my toe in recovery, because I certainly have, which is an amazing thing when you think about it, because my foot is always in my mouth. It's really hard to stub your toe, but I find a way. Anyway, the ability to set and respect healthy boundaries takes courage. That's why I always sign off with that. We have to have courage. But when we get our unmet needs in healthy ways, we feel safe. And that feeds courage. Feeling safe encourages us and makes us feel like we can do more, right? Don't you guys agree? Do you guys have any unmet needs at the most fundamental level? You don't have to answer me. You can just think about this, all right? Can you see why implementing boundaries actually enables us to live more, not less freely? Do you make that connection, or do you feel that you're restricted, not protected? Do you think Maslow's hierarchy of needs is relevant to your recovery? That's the big question. Have you been afraid to be abstinent because you worried that you would feel imprisoned and deprived? I think this is worth thinking about. All right, you guys? So that really is my very long-winded discussion. And I hope that it opened your eyes a little bit to see things differently, to explore how your needs are being met, how many of your needs are unmet, and how you're meeting healthy needs in unhealthy ways, and how it is that finding ways to meet them in healthy ways actually makes you feel more free and more protected, not restricted and fearful, okay? I hope that that connection is made here for the show. And since I'm not going to keep you guys longer, enough is enough. I will come back and read your comments offline, I promise, and I will answer them. And as ever, I will gratefully thank you guys for joining me, for sharing your precious, valuable time with me. I hope that you get as much out of it as I do, because wow, when I sit down and prepare this stuff, it makes me think. It makes me think, how am I getting my healthy needs met? Am I still looking for ways to meet them in unhealthy ways? And I am encouraged by that, what I'm going to call recovery level up there, that says, I accept the facts, you know? And I can do it without prejudice. Beautiful. All right, you guys, I'm going to sign off and remind you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. I will see you guys tomorrow for sure. Please remember to share the show. Take care. Bye.